Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. This video right here is going to be a little bit different than my normal videos. In this video I want to just talk about why I do what I do, what drove me to this, and why I think and believe some of the things I think and believe. It's not going to take too much of your time, but I'm sure you can relate to it. I don't have cue cards and I'm not editing my software or anything like that. I'm not editing none of these videos, especially this one. I want to be as real as I can to relate with you a little bit better because I know a lot of people can relate to what I'm about to talk about. Number one, I was born with health issues and I've had to have surgeries from day one to save my life. And I know God had a part of that, but I didn't know about God until later in my life. But I had the surgeries and had a rough childhood. And then I lost my brother when I was 14, 2 days before my birthday, before my 15th birthday. It was really hard. He was a hero to me. And I can go into long stories about each one of these things that I'm bringing up today. And when he passed away, I kind of realized how precious life was. I done lost grandparents, but it didn't really hit me until my brother died. We was extremely close. There was 7 of us kids altogether, 4 boys, 3 girls. Us boys were really, really close. We was close to our sisters too, but us boys played sports together and stuff, and we went places together. And yeah, I didn't know it, but I had a little bit of depression going on. But it is what it is. I just tried to live life, and I tried to change myself a little bit for the better. And then I had a car accident at the age of 19. Yeah, I didn't know a whole lot. I was a little slower on learning than most people were at the time. And it killed my uncle. It hurt my aunt really bad. And my niece was only 7 years old and she was seriously injured to where even still to this day, I'm 45 now. I was 19 at the time. Still to this day, she has scars and stuff. And I can go into a long story over that when I pulled her from the seat and saw what I saw. You know, it was really tough. And I watched my aunt go through the windshield. It was bad. It was really bad. But anyways, I started questioning things, and it led me down a bad road. I became a bad person until one day I realized that I was really hurting people, and I didn't want to be remembered like that. And then I started realizing that God was real. And then I met my wife when I was 23. I met her, and she was in the church. It was funny because after our first date, she asked me that night before I went home if I wanted to go to church with her the next day, something that a lot of people would have said I would have never done. But I just immediately told her yes, I'd be there. That next morning I was excited about going. Of course, couldn't wait to see her again. But I was interested. I always wanted to know about this Jesus that a lot of people had talked about. And so I went to her house, stayed there for a little bit, and then we went to church. Her whole family went. And I found myself captivated in what the preacher was speaking. I leaned forward in the pew outside the aisle and I just was focused on what he was saying. I found it really interesting and I felt a connection. All through when I was a kid, I always had thoughts in my head, but history books and science always tells you that your thoughts are wrong. So I didn't know. And then when I started learning more about the Bible, I wanted to be a member of the church, so I entered the church and became a trustee. And then I moved into a deacon role a little bit later on, and I started asking all kinds of questions. I was reading the Bible. I tried to change my life. I wasn't cussing no more. I was trying to be as perfect as I could be because I truly believed that Jesus wanted us to be in the image of Him. We couldn't be perfect. There's no way we can be perfect. All of us will always fall short, and we don't deserve what He's done for us. But I strongly, I strongly felt like that even if I sinned, I had to try really hard not to do that sin again. So that's what I did. And then I started preaching for the church. My pastor would go on vacation and I'd preach and I did a sermon one day. It was my first sermon. And it was a small country church. There was hardly anybody ever there. But this day I showed up and this place was packed. And I was supposed to be the preacher. So I got really nervous. And I walked inside the church. I'm leaving out a ton of details because I'm trying to make this short as I can, but also as meaningful as I can to help understand things. But I went into the church, went to the back room, and I got into my bag, and I realized I left my sermon that I prepared at home, and I was lost. I mean, I was lost. So I said a prayer, and I asked God to just speak through me. So I went back out there in front of everybody, did the prayer list and all that stuff, and took a deep breath, and I started doing a sermon. And I remember I was speaking about David and Goliath, or that we was the Davids, and Goliath was the world, you know, or even as Goliath as Satan, possibly. But I remember looking at everybody in the church, and I felt things. I saw things and I felt things. I tried to ignore them. And then I happened to say, and I'll never forget it. And I still remember to this day. And I was 25, 26 when I did this sermon. I'm 45 now. And I remember telling them that outside the windows, Satan was running around that church. And the only way he could get in there was through one of us. We'd have to invite him in, allow him to come in. And he was fighting all of us to try to get in there. And now, what struck me after the sermon, it was a great sermon and everything, but I started noticing things. The people of the church were letting him in. There are certain ones, not all. And it hurt me. It hurt me really bad to realize this. And I ended up backing off. I stepped away and I stepped out of the church. I never lost my connection with God. And we had 4 kids. I've got a picture of all of them, me holding them for the first time. I was extremely proud. But then years go by, several years, and my mom started to get really sick. She was dealing with Parkinson's and other things. And I have my own health issues, like I said, and some of them line up with what she went through. And as she was getting sick and starting to pass away, I started to realize that people weren't who they said they were. I felt so alone in that moment. I didn't feel like I could go to anyone. I didn't feel like anybody cared. And I got close to my dad. My dad wasn't a father when I was young. He was pretty bad. I don't want to talk too much about what all he did, but it was pretty bad. And I always chased him. I wanted that dad figure, so I always chased him. And so me and him got close. He didn't live with my mom, but they were still married. He had health problems of his own, lung issues, and he was on oxygen and stuff. So he moved into town closer. She was out in the country, which I thought was pretty sad. But I talked to him about it all the time, and I let him know how I felt. And I talked to him about issues I had with him. And me and him grew a bond that I wish I could have had when I was a kid. It was it was so cool, but I had to take care of him even though he didn't take care of me as a kid. He told my mom he couldn't play God, and if I died, I died. And I was in the hospital. I know that's one of those words you're not supposed to use on here, but I use it anyways. I'm trying to be real. And my mom ends up passing away. That was so hard for me. I was so close to her. She was a mother and father to 7 kids. I remember I lost my brother when I was only 14, 2 days before my birthday. And now here I am, 36, and I lose my mom, or 37, somewhere in there. I lost my mom. And then my dad wanted me to move my family all the way over there and I lived in a whole nother county in Indiana. So I packed up my kids, my wife, and we moved all the way over there. And my dad moved in with us. And I tried to take care of him. I did the best I could. He wouldn't take his medication and stuff, so that was problems. And he was doing things that I wish he never did. And it ended up becoming really hard because his sickness got really bad. And I was crying a lot. I couldn't sleep. Every time I tried to sleep, he'd be yelling at me, yelling my name. He'd come running into our room middle of the night yelling. They needed me. It was really hard for me. And I had 4 kids, and my youngest at the time was 2 or 3. And finally, I came to terms with, he'd be better if a nursing home would take care of him. I never wanted that, but I felt like it was best for him. But he wouldn't go along with it if I just tried to talk to him about it. My dad was just stubborn. But I took him to the hospital because he was having problems. And I went out of the room and I cried to a doctor. And man, I felt so guilty. And I still feel that guilt still to this day. And it was a little while ago. But the doctor told me that I was doing the right thing. It was the best thing to do. So got him in a nursing home. My dad forgave me for that, as far as I know. That's what he told me. And he started going downhill really bad before this. So I knew what was coming. The doctors told me what was coming. And I had to sign a paper. My dad made me sign a paper to let him go. He wanted hospice. And it was probably one of the hardest things I ever had to do, other than losing my mom and my brother. And I signed those papers crying, and I asked him before I signed if he for sure wanted me to do that. And he said yes. So I did it, and I hugged him. And it wasn't much longer after that that he developed pneumonia, couldn't fight it. And I held his hand one last time. I got pictures of that I could share if anybody wants me to go more in depth with each one of these moments and explain things a little bit better, because there are some wild things that happen in each one of these moments that I didn't notice at the time that I notice now. And there's a couple things I did notice at the time, but I notice a lot more now that I'm a little bit older. But he passed away after I held his hand. And he told me it was the last time. He even had me give him a hug, and he said it's the last time, hold me tight. And you don't think that's real, but it was real. He passed away, and I had to take care of everything on that part. Then we lost our house to a fire. I had no insurance. We lost everything we owned. We lost our dogs. There was two dogs in there that was truly amazing pets. They was family. I miss them. I've even got pictures of me riding with one of them in my truck. She was a sweet dog. Her name was Bailey. And we've got another dog now named Bailey that looks similar to her in memory of her. But I'll show you pictures of our house after it burnt. So yeah, that was the refrigerator right there. Everything in that house burnt. I mean, literally everything burnt. And there it is. That was hard. That was really hard. No insurance, lost everything. It's our fault. We didn't have insurance. We couldn't afford it. Things were really tight and tough. But we went through some trials after that, because I went through depression when my dad passed away that was so deep and dark, and stress. I started developing panic attacks I never felt before, anxiety, things that I always thought that were in people's heads. Turns out that the stuff's real. I went to go to sleep one night, and I jumped up out of bed feeling these feelings I never felt before, like I was going to go, like it was over, and I didn't know how to escape it, freaking out. And I went to run out my bedroom door, broke the door handle, went all the way through the house, got outside, felt like the world was caving in on me, like claustrophobic. It was some serious depression I went through after that, where I stayed in bed, and it didn't help me out with my health problems at all. And there was other issues that developed in me that I had to deal with. And one day I finally stood up and tried to deal with them, and then the house burnt. So yeah, it's pretty hard. And like I said, I grew up poor. Well, I didn't consider us poor. We had four kids, but when I was a kid, we was poor. But me and my wife, we have four kids. Things were just tight, you know, and then losing everything and the dogs. But I always was the type that I had to fix it. I had to fix it right then and there. And then all of a sudden, I'm finding myself in a position to where I can't fix it. There's nothing I could do. So I went into depression again. And then I realized, I had to do something. So I did what I could, saved up what we could. We bought a camper, pretty good sized travel trailer. It was an older one. And we moved it over on that property behind the burnt house. and I had to cut some trees down and stuff like that, and I had to put septic lines in, water lines. A whole new light pole had to be put in because the light meter was on the old house and it burnt. So I had to buy all this wire, get a light pole put in. I had to pay the electric company tons of money, water company tons of money. I had to buy all the piping for the septic. I had to buy a new meter box. I had to buy a breaker for outside because I'm hooking up to a camper, another safety thing. And I had to buy the meter box so they could put the meter in it. A lot of money. I mean, it took us a little bit, and it took me a lot of work to get it all done, but I got it done. I got pictures of that too I could share, and more to that story too if you wanted to hear. Then we started living in a camper with a generator at first, and that's how we made it for a little while. And we had problems along the way. There was tons of problems, but didn't lose in faith in God. Never. I just didn't understand things, but He's the reason why we made it. He really is. We prayed to Him so many times, and when we didn't think we could make it through something, and the next day something would happen, or the day after that, or something, ask for a sign and a butterfly would come flying in. That's what it is. Sometimes people don't see those little signs, so they think that there wasn't no sign, but the signs are there. But stripped that camper out while we was living in it and made it as nice of a home as we could. But there wasn't really enough room for all of our kids. It worked for a while though, and we had a new baby coming. God, I don't understand things, but kind of do now. I didn't at the time because we had used things and things that had always worked for 8, 9 years. All of a sudden, it didn't work, and here we was faced with the pregnancy, and we personally don't do. We carry the baby. We have the baby. Well, we wanted to know what the sex of the baby was because of my son. He's the only son we have. We had 3 girls and 1 boy. And our son always wanted a brother, and we always told him we just couldn't happen. It wasn't going to happen. And now here we are with the baby coming, and he wanted to know, so we wanted to know. So my wife had that early detection test ran, and they test for other things too while she's pregnant. But we got the phone call one day while they was in school, and the doctor told us that it was a boy. Hey, it's there's so much tied into this. It was a boy, and the test showed that he would more than likely have Down syndrome. Now they can predict stuff like that, and it could be wrong, but it was highly likely that he would have it. The thing is they can't tell you if he's going to have any kind of problems, like serious problems or a lot of problems or this and that. You just have to kind of go with it. So we had test after test after test up until he was born, and we was going to this hospital miles away, this hospital hours away, and meeting with several doctors and just tons of stuff. And each doctor visit, hospital visit, they always ended it with be prepared for a stillborn baby. So that would be weighing heavy on us all the way back home, crying and talking about it, because we love all of our kids. And this boy meant the world to us, and he wasn't even here yet, but he was one of us. And one day on an ultrasound, they noticed that he had a lot of fluid developing around his brain. I forget the name of it. It's where their heads get really big, could get really big. And it was pretty significant. And they discussed things again with us. Same story over and over and over. And we went home. A couple of days going by, and I'm racking my brain like I always do. And we lived in a camper still. And I told my wife, I said, the only thing that you've done different with this baby, other than the 4, is you've been taking the prenatal that the doctor prescribed you. So she went home, and she was getting sick all the time. She was losing weight instead of gaining weight. And she was getting close to a couple months from having a baby. And he wasn't really getting that big. She was losing weight instead of gaining, and she was always sick. She couldn't eat nothing. But she went home and stopped taking the prenatal, and she got better. She was able to start gaining a little bit of weight. And then on the next ultrasound appointment, we went in, like 2 hour drive to get there. We went in and they told us that the technician was looking at him, and then all of a sudden she got up. She goes, I gotta go get the one that's over her. So she went to try to find them and couldn't find them. She comes back in there and she goes, I can't find them yet, but I just want to go ahead and share this because it's unbelievable to me. The fluid's going away. And she said that she had never seen it like that because it went down so drastically. It was almost completely gone. Other than that, we prayed. We prayed a lot. I believe prayer works. And I know a lot of people out there, you might not believe in this stuff, but I do. I really do. And it's okay that you don't. It's your choice. You should just open your ears and your heart and your mind to these things. At least give it a chance. And I know that you probably have your reasons not to believe. If you would just look a little deeper, maybe you could see the reasons to believe. But it worked. And turns out it went completely away before he was born. And then when he was born, everything seemed fine. She had to be induced, but everything seemed fine. They even looked at him and the doctor said that he has no features of Down syndrome. He didn't see anything. So getting back to us, and all they let her try to do was breastfeed just for a little bit. And then they took him over to the table, ran a sugar test, said his sugar was low. And then she went, so got this cream stuff that was for sugar to help raise his sugar, elevate it. And she just forced it in his mouth and he started gagging on it. She walked away. He's choking, turning purple. I picked him up and I'm trying to get him to breathe, and she just ignored me. And then another nurse went by and I told her, she looked and she grabbed him and hurried up and helped me, and she sucked him out and stuff and got him under control. Then they took him from us. And we waited a little while and they took him to the NICU and found out that he had a soft cleft palate in the back of his throat. If you don't know what that is, Google it. He was just missing a little bit back in the very back. It wasn't the bone, luckily. They ran tests and it just went to the bone. And they told us that he would have to have that fixed. Okay. Then they tell us that he can't take a bottle, so they had to put a feeding tube in him. They didn't even give us a chance to try to feed him again. So we assumed they was right. So that's what happened. And they kept making excuses to keep this boy in the hospital. And I strongly feel like a label on a baby changes everything, and they see money because they can get tons of money out of this baby, insurance wise, or out of us, or even out of the government. And they turned it into like a cash cow thing. And I noticed it. So we started fighting, trying to get him out there because there wasn't no sense in him being there. The only thing that we seen an issue with and they wasn't addressing was we did see that his chest would come in a little bit when he breathed. And they put him on oxygen and a heart monitor and stuff, and we had to keep that thing on him. And we went and got a patient advocate, and they helped us take him home with the feeding tube, heart monitor, and it monitored his oxygen and oxygen. So we took him home. It was a rough ride home, but we got him home. But he had tons of problems. He always got choked on stuff. Like he couldn't do anything about it because it would get stuck back there when it came back up. And they knew this at the hospital and didn't address it there. We called them. They didn't want to give nothing for it. They just ignored it. And they said, just do what you got to do. And it was weird. But eventually we got a doctor to give him some stuff for anti-acid. And it helped a little bit. But then we got him to eat a little bit from a bottle nipple. He could suck on a binky. And he would hold it up for himself. I mean, we're talking about a newborn baby. He knew to hold that pacifier in his mouth. A lot of people had to put strings on theirs or whatever, but we never had to do anything like that. He just knew to hold it in his mouth. He was showing signs of intelligence, like I would have never thought to do that, but he did. And one day I put a little bit of milk in a binky and I tried it, or not a binky, a bottle nipple, and put it in his mouth and he sucked it out and swallowed it. Didn't choke or anything. But we was worried about a little bit about uh, him getting anything in his lungs. So we paid close attention to that. But they said that he couldn't do that. There's no way he could do that. But we got him to do it. And then we ended up getting him to take a little bit of bottle, and they kept telling us that he couldn't. And then he started laughing and making noises. They said he couldn't. And then he was saying mom, mom. He was pronouncing it, mom, just different sounds. And they said he couldn't, that all he could do is guh with the G. And everything they was saying was contradicting what we was telling them. And they was trying to force this surgery because they claimed that he can't do those things. And we was like, but he can. And we was worried about the breathing problems going under in a surgery that he might not be able to make it, but they ignored us. And they ended up getting DCS, which is never a good thing for anybody, to come to our house. And we fought them. We're going to go against you if we feel like we're right, and we got all the proof because we had video footage of them doing all these things. And we was smart and had cameras in our house when they showed up. And we fought them off. And it was hard. I'm not going to lie. Going against them is really tough because they can really try things. And I ended up having to get really smart with them one day. And then they had me feeling bad and had my wife feeling bad. We're second guessing ourselves. And that's what their job is. That's what the hospital was doing. That's what they wanted. But we fell into their trap. We thought that maybe, just maybe, we were wrong. And we ended up agreeing to the surgery. So we took him 3 hours away to the surgery, 3 hours there and 3 hours back is how long. Kept telling us it was going to be simple, nothing to worry about. It's all in our mind. And it was so simple, in and out. And then tomorrow he gets to go home. They just filled our head with this stuff. We got it all on recordings. And we talked about the complications that we was worried about. No, we was wrong. There's no way. He laughed at us. And then we got there. The four kids were here. Two of them's old enough to, they one of them was already with her own baby. She's going to have her own baby. She had a boyfriend and she had moved out, but moved back in with us. And our second oldest daughter was 17, so it's no big deal. Other than I needed to make sure that they had what they needed, which that's what we did. And the surgery came, so we was there. The kids stayed here, and the doctor came out, told us that everything went fine, nothing to worry about, just fine. So he said a little bit longer, and then we could see him. So we went to walk down to get us a drink, and on our way down, we heard over the intercom code red, and it was for a baby. And we just looked at each other, and we felt bad. We felt terrible for whoever it was. And both of us said it could have been Aiden. That's our boy's name. And we got back up there, and the doctor came and found us and gave us the bad news that our son couldn't be taken off the ventilator. And he didn't tell us he coded. He kept that a secret. We had to find out in paperwork. And then right before other things happened, a nurse came and talked to us. But a doctor never told us anything. He laughed at my wife when she cried. It's like, why are you laughing? Our baby can't come off the ventilator. You know, he can't breathe on his own. And we just heard that on the intercom, so we was already piecing things together. But we had to see our son with pipes in his mouth, things stuck all over him, monitors, the whole 9 yards, and they had him out. They put him in a coma, and they had him on some strong drugs, fentanyl, and many other things. And we're talking about a baby. He's a year old. I'm sorry, but a lot of praying went into that. And I just want to let everybody know that when he was born, I found a way to sell what we had so we could get a new home. And that's where we're at now because we want the best for him and our kids. We never gave up and we fought hard to get where we are with God by our side. I know the government hides a lot from all of us. They truly do. I'm hoping one day I can open everybody's eyes, or at least some, to what's really going on. I don't have all the answers. None of us on YouTube or anywhere have all the answers. We have our suspicions, and a lot of conspiracy theories turn out to be true conspiracies that are real. It just takes time to uncover them. But get back to my son. About a week goes by on all this stuff, and they went to take the ventilator out. And we had walked out of the room and we came back in, and our son he couldn't breathe. He had his hands out. This little year old baby there turning purple, red, and they're running around. And then he just grabs that breathing thing, starts pumping air into him. We run over to that bed and drop and grab his hands. And we try to comfort him as much as we can. His eyes were, he was trying to open his eyes, but he couldn't. He was gasping for air. The doctor stops and slams his hands on the rail of the bed. And I remember turning, looking at him and saying, "Can't you put it back in?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, just do it. Don't make him suffer." So he hurried up and started making the calls to get it back in. And we had to walk out of the room. And it took everything we had to get out of there. My wife bawled her eyes out to get out of there. It was hard, but they got it back in him and got him settled back down. And about a month goes by, and they tell us that he has to have a trach. And I found this out on my birthday. I'm not even joking about this thing with my birthday. I'm not. I can prove it. The doctor called us, told us it has to be a trach. There's no other way. You can't reverse the surgery. You can't do this. You can't do that. There's nothing they can do but to cut a hole and put a trach in. You need to learn how to care for a trach. So we go back because we came here and got our kids some food and stuff. Went back and had a meeting with the doctors, and they gave us books on trach. Then we had a meeting with a nurse to learn how to do the trach, how to care for it and stuff, what he would go through, what we would go through, blah, blah, blah. And we would have many more to come. And then we got to meet with a bunch of doctors again, and finally I decided to voice how I felt. And we're talking about a room full of people, doctors, like specialists. And I looked at them and I'd had enough. And I knew I needed to handle them like I did the other hospital and like we did with the DCS problems. We needed to speak how we feel. We're his parents, we're his voice. And I told them that it sucks because we was talked into this and we knew that these problems would arise, and we tried to tell people about his breathing problems and nobody wants to listen to us. We even showed a video and nobody watched it or cared to watch it. All right, they didn't care. And here we are. And every time he's in our care, everything seems fine. But as soon as he's in a doctor's care, there's always surgeries, there's always this, there's always that, and we can't take him home. There's just tons of stuff, and we were sick of it. And I cried. I bawled my eyes out right there. But the doctor in charge of all this turned and looked at me. And we prayed hard before we went in there, and I was wearing this very cross the whole time. And I held it tight, and I prayed to God before we went in this meeting. And this doctor turned and looked at us and said, "I understand. I get it." And we looked at each other, and then I looked back at her, and I said, "Well, we have an idea to give him one more chance because he deserves one more chance. He's been put through so much. Give him a chance. Not us, not you. Give him a chance." And me and my wife had been talking, and we had to lay down a plan that we thought would work to get him off of the ventilator. So I laid the plan down to them, and they agreed to it, that we would put this into motion. And the next day or two, we would be going into this. And I'm telling you, it happened pretty quick. So yeah, so we was terrified. The day came where we was on that final step of taking him back here and trying to pull it out. But we showed him a video of him breathing, and they agreed to give him albuterol before they tried and after it came out to see if it's asthma related because of my asthma problems, which still to this day, albuterol can help with several breathing problems. So that's why they can't diagnose asthma until they're like 3 or 4 years old. I think it's 3, but they can still doctor it. But they took him back, and as soon as they left the room, I lost it. I lost it. I was gone, and I was bawling, and I stood up, couldn't hear nothing. Started walking out the room, and they took him across to the other part of this big nurses area, and they went and turned, and I'm going out this way to go outside, and they're taking him back the other side, and we're walking, and I look over, and he's walking right, or they're pushing him right next to me in the same direction, and I look over, and I just want to go there and grab him and take him home. It went through my head to just go over there and stop it. I knew I couldn't. So I balled my fist up, did everything I could to make it to the parking garage, and I screamed. I screamed loud, and I got to the edge, and I started talking to God, begging Him to take me, and let my boy breathe. Just let him breathe. Take me right now. I'm ready. Just let him breathe. And I was serious. He knows I'm serious. I held his cross tight, and I told him I'd do it right now. A little bit of time goes by, and then we got a call to hurry up and get back in there. So we hurried, got the elevator, got up there, went to the room. He's still not there. So we go in and sit down, and there was a sense of a feeling that we was afraid we was wrong. But we sat down in there and we waited, and then they started wheeling the bed in backwards. So we see the back of the bed first. And we were like, oh my God, is it still in there? As soon as he came to where I could see him, it was out. It was out. No more ventilator. And he was wide awake for the first time in over a month. He played with my hat because that was his favorite thing to do. I held his hand and I sang to him because I always sang to him every morning and danced with him. And I finally got to do it again. It meant the world to me, so we didn't need the trach after all. Then they did the feeding test and he passed it, like we always knew he could. He had a stitch hanging out of his mouth and he kept chewing on it, playing with it because it was on his tongue to hold the pipes in and to keep him from swallowing his tongue and stuff. But oh man, it was tough. Christmas Eve, we fought hard, but Christmas Eve we finally got to get him released. Yes. I'm sorry. And we had no Christmas gifts, no Christmas tree or anything. And on the way home, we stopped at Walmart before they closed. And God, we was so close before they closed. And we bought what we could, got what we could for our kids. And we went home and set it all up. And our kids were shocked because they didn't know we kept it a secret. We pulled in, and everybody was happy. Probably the best Christmas I think I'll ever have in my life. It was truly amazing and a miracle. And for it to happen on Christmas kind of lines up with everything I'm trying to talk about. I got baptized when I was 24. And when I got baptized, it opened my eyes to a lot of things. The world attacked me harder than it ever attacked me before. And slowly but surely, I blamed God. And I said sometimes, hey, and he did say this, but I would always say, if you was real, how could you let this happen? It, it don't work that way. It don't. And I know a lot of you out there that don't believe or whatever. You'll say, well, why don't it? Because that's exactly what happened. That's not what happened. That's not what happened. There was testing being done. And in certain areas, I failed it. When we was in the hospital and we was sleeping in our car in the parking garage because we couldn't afford a hotel room, and all this gas was killing us going back and forth. We're talking 6 hour drive round trip each time we had to make it for over a month. We watched YouTube videos to get us through at night. The very kind of videos that I've been trying to create myself and share with you. Try to give back. We've tried to help people even though we don't have the money. And my health is really bad right now. My son still has health problems himself. And I was in the store the other day, and I don't record this stuff because I don't do it for glorification of myself. All the glory is given to Him. It's all to Him. And this guy had a kid in his cart, and he had a food stamp card, and he tried to pay, and he couldn't pay, and it was like $25, $26. And he said, I guess I had to put it all back, and he started pulling it all out of the cart. and that little kid was sitting there, and we had to put that back. I'm not going to name what the item was because it doesn't really matter. And he told his son, yes, I don't know what's wrong with the card. And I said, how much is it? I asked the cashier, and he told me. And I said, I'll get it. I said, just let him take his stuff. Uh, I said, just put mine onto his, and I'll pay for it all. It hurt us, but it helped them. A lot of times people tell me that I'm crazy for doing that because we struggle pretty bad. Our son has to have special things, and if you think that we're getting help with all that, you're wrong. If you think that government programs help so much, you're wrong. It is so hard, and they even they mess so many things up, and they won't fix it. They tell you, what do you want me to do about it? What do you want me to tell you? And then months go by, and then they finally figure out that they did screw it up, and then they can't go back and do anything. But you're hurting now, and we've been going through stuff like that multiple times. He has to have special things, and we're out money every month, every week, like every 2 or 3 days. It's expensive, and we find ourselves needing help ourselves. We was even taking food to people that didn't have food. You know, I felt like I needed to give back. It's hard. So I decided, we decided to start a YouTube channel to try to give back in this way too. And I've got to stop doing that other stuff as much as I can until we find ourselves in a better position. But the YouTube channel is hopefully here that maybe one day someone else is in a bad position, they turn it on and they find one of my videos and it helps them get through something and maybe even wake them up to something. You never know. But another mission is to open eyes to things that seem to be hidden from us. But down deep in my soul, I know that they're hiding from us, keeping from us. And I just hope that I can help other people understand it. And I'll say something about the flat earth thing. It matters a little bit what you believe on it, but in reality, it just doesn't matter. You can know the truth. You can't force others to believe it or to understand it. Just plant the seed and walk away. Come back and try to fertilize it every now and then, give them a little bit of water, see if it grows. That's how we're supposed to spread the gospel. Don't try to force it. Don't judge people for not believing. And I don't have all the questions. And that's one problem Christians make is they want to act like they have all the answers and we don't. None of us do. We all fall short of everything. The only one that does, and then we keep trying to pick the date and time and of the end of this, the end of that. It's just not going to happen. We will know when the time is coming. And if you take a look around right now, I feel like it's happening more than ever. And I felt like I needed to do this video, even if it just gets to one person and it helps you. I hope it does. And I don't know if I should do more videos like this. I just wanted to share some of this stuff with you guys. The health problems I have right now are again with my stomach again. And that's what I've had surgeries on all my life. And I'm afraid I might have to have another one. I can't afford to see a doctor. I went to the hospital and they won't run the test I need unless a doctor orders it and I have to go. It's ridiculous, but Mike Tyson can go in and they do that exact same test right there on the spot for him, but not me. They didn't. And I can't afford it. Now I'm getting bills from the hospital for that visit and they didn't even fix my problem. They gave me nothing. Just told me to see a doctor. And they gave me a guess, but they didn't give me nothing to help with it. So I'm buying something at the store to try to help with it. And it helps a little bit. It costs me $10 every time I get it plus tax. And I get it like every 2 or 3 days, so it's expensive too. Things are really hard for us. But also on this channel, I'm hoping that we eventually get to where we get monetized and start earning some money to where we can afford things and maybe give back like we've been wanting to a little bit more. But until then, I just I just want to try to do this as much as I can. And if I never get monetized, it's okay because I'm sure I'm helping someone. And that's my goal. That's the main goal out of everything. It really is. Now, I've left a lot of details out of the story. This house that we are living in now, that we managed to get, has had a lot of problems. A leaky water heater that we couldn't fix for the longest time, so now the floor is rotting out. Uh, I finally replaced the water heater, but I can't replace the floor. And then the bathtub in our bathroom is running hot water straight. I can't afford the faucet on it right now, but it's hot water, of course, so our electric bill and our water bill sky high. And there's some other issues with it, but it's a pretty good size home for our kids. And our little boy, even though they said he couldn't walk without braces or maybe a walker, my wife and I have worked with him so much, and he is so strong and so courageous. He is now walking. He just started walking recently. Another reason why I haven't been able to do so many videos is working really hard with him to get him to meet that goal. He's behind on things, but he'll catch up. But he's walking. When he walks, he holds his hands up. It's cute. He's always smiling. He brings us joy. He picked us for a reason. I know he did. Anyways, I hope that this video gets watched by somebody that needs it. That even though you're feeling down or you're having a hard time, just stay focused. Stay focused and don't lose your faith. And if you don't have faith, turn to him. Turn to him. See what he can do for you. But you got to put it all in him. Not just a little bit, all of it. Try hard. I repent every day because I make mistakes every day. I sin constantly. None of us are perfect. You're no less of a person than I am. I'm no more of a person than you are. We are all one under him. And that's how I feel. I've got so many stories that I'm going to be putting in the videos that are coming soon. It's just, I wanted to get this out. I really did. And I want to do a little more videos on stuff similar to this as well. But I wanted to share these stories. And if anybody wants me to go more in depth, let me know in the comments. There's a link in the description if you want to help with the channel to help us maintain our ability to make videos with donations. I'm not asking anybody to. It's okay if you can't. I don't care. It's just there until we get monetized. Which, if it comes, it comes. If it don't. I just know that God's calling me to do this. He's calling you too. I love you. Whether you think nobody cares and you sit there and think, well, you don't know me, I'm sitting there talking to you. I don't know you like this, but I know you. Just like Jesus knows all of us. Reach out to me in my comments if you want to me do this any further or if you need to talk personally or anything. I'm here. I hope everybody has a safe rest of their day. Keep your eyes open to the skies because I've got some videos and some pictures that I've done myself that I'm going to be sharing shortly. I just did one today, Sunday, July 27th, where the storm was going through, but yet the clouds are pink. It's pretty neat. And then some other ones that are really interesting. But if you have any videos that you'd like to share with me, I'd like to see them. Like I said, share the video, like it to help maybe get it to people that need to see it. It's extremely important to like the video. Comment if you want. Any feedback is good. I don't care. If you want to say something bad, it's fine. I'll listen to that too. It's okay. Subscribe if you want to be part of this journey and a part of this channel and a part of this family. God bless you. Remember this. One day they told us a long time ago. I remember we always said, all of us said this. A camera never lies. But now it does. Now it does. So only believe half of what you see and believe half of what you hear. God bless. Have a good day.